Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Games Talk 2020, our second episode. My name's Ari Hoffman. I'm a programmer and games curator with ACMI. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting originates tonight on the lands of the people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I would like to pay respects to any and all who are joining us for this evening's stream. So I'd like to introduce you to my guest for this evening, Ngoc Vu from Route 59. Good evening, Ngoc.
Good evening.
Fantastic. So, Ngoc, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Route 59?
So I guess I went through, the whole, quintessential Australian student route. Went through primary school, high school, and I always was really interested in the way that games were, made. It just seemed like something that was really magical, and I wanted to see what was behind the curtain. And so I just endeavored to look into that more because I always grew up with games and, playing Tetris and stuff on my dad's computer was just a good memory for me.
Yeah. Awesome. So then what's first inspired your love of games and be honest, to be getting into the games development industry as a career?
So I used to play, a lot of, I'll be honest, I played a lot of emulators because I guess my parents, they didn't want to, they were immigrants and they wanted to save money. And, I just wanted to, absorb all of these games that I wanted to play. And I guess Fire Emblem really, jumps out at me because I was just so enamored at the way that they handled narrative, and it just was inspiration for me to really look into maybe, I just was I can do this, I really want to make, something that is like this, that affects, someone. And yeah, I just really appreciate the way that narrative is handled in games. And yeah, it's just kind of why I guess I'm here today making visual novels and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then, so from there, I know that you went and studied game design at RMIT, partners on this Games Talk series. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your time in the game design course?
I really appreciate RMIT and the fact that I guess it brought me and a lot of the people I collaborate with together. So I was able to, connect and network within that community. And it just had me think a lot about, games theory and how we affect the player in a more broad sense, as opposed to just learning skills, which was, I guess I can explore that in online courses and stuff like that. So it was just the more broad thinking of design.
And for those who are watching, if you'd like to find out more about the courses that RMIT offers in game design, you can find out more in the description below. So you wrapped up your time at RMIT and you needed to go out there and make some money. So you ended up doing what many of us do and going into freelance. So do you want to take us through your time as a freelancer, some of the projects that you worked on and some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I guess my path is just sort of a bit haphazard, I'll say. So I worked as a character design intern for a job website. It was connecting students to jobs that could be done in between lectures. And I worked as making designs for their little mascot and stuff like that. And I guess I've always been interested because I did start out drawing with like a how to draw anime book, and I guess it's embarrassing, a little embarrassing to say, but like that book was just like it made me think about how to perceive shapes and how to shape out a character, and how to think about a character design as a whole. So yeah, like I guess that's my background in regards to the to how I got the job as a lead artist for an anime game.
It's definitely fitting. So and it brings us on nicely to the next question, which is to talk a bit about your team and your company, Route 59. So you're a co-founder of Route 59. Can you tell us a bit about the early days? So who's on the team? How did you all meet? And what's some of the underlying design principles, design ethos that drives you as a company?
So I met Kevin in uni. So we were colleagues from different year levels, but just I appreciate the fact that he actually did take the consideration to reach out to me and all, because I definitely wouldn't have, because I was just so burnt out. I was just like thinking about my like third year assignment, just going like, oh please, I just want to graduate. And I guess, you know, just taking the time to meet your colleagues is something that he's taught me, and that's kind of how I went into the development for Necrobarista. You know, he knew my skill set, and he knew that I was able to draw in the style quite well and perceive it. And yeah, he just was like, I guess we were at a networking party, because yeah, I was just working retail and working, you know, all these other freelance odd jobs, and I did want to enter the industry, and I did reach out to the community, the local games community here, and yeah, you know, Kevin just reached out and was like, hey, you want to collab on something? And I was just like, okay, yeah, you know, like with like all of this other stuff, I you know, I really do want to work in games, and this seemed just like the chance to do it. And so yeah, we worked remotely for a long time, and it seemed like a garage band kind of deal. You know, we would be meeting in, you know, his living room of his share house, and I would meet his housemates, and you know, just check out the stuff on his walls, and it was just like anime stuff that was pulled out of magazines, and I was like, yeah, you know, like I vibe with this. Yeah.
Awesome. And I believe we've got a photo of the team, so we can let our audience know a little bit about the rest of Route 59, which is awesome. So obviously, look, your first game, Necrobarista, has dropped, only 2-3 weeks ago? Is that it now?
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving it. I'm around about 3/4 of the way through, smashing through it. So can we please take a look at the trailer for Necrobarista and get a bit of an idea of the game? Okay, so for those who haven't played it yet, we have a kick-ass barista who also practices necromancy in a small cafe that is also the intersectional point between two worlds, and that is here in Melbourne. Tell us a bit about where the idea came from.
So I guess it was all, I guess, Kevin's concept, I think, because, he really enjoyed the visual novel genre, but there was a bit of frustration in the way that it was being, I guess, delivered. Like, I think a lot of Japanese writers are paid per word, and it just seemed like there was a lot of, I guess, fluff. And we just thought, it'd be nice to like really play with this concept, because I think visual novels are a very niche sort of game, and we just want to really innovate on how the genre would be perceived.
Mm-hmm. And so I know, look, the game went through quite a few iterations before it arrived at the Necrobarista where we've got today. And we've actually got some screenshots from some of those early demos. Do you want to take us through a little bit of each of these and how the game shifted from them and what they make you feel?
Yeah, so a lot of the demos were experimenting with, I guess, the production capabilities of the team. So we played around with, I guess, how much we could do and how quickly we could do it. And that came out with 3 demos. So that is Little Moon, Chinese Classroom, and then Physical Ghosts, which would eventually turn into Necrobarista. And just, I guess, going through those iterations, it gave us inspiration on, I guess, the production and our capabilities as like a small team. We eventually started out as like 3 people, and now, we've gone up to like 15, and, everyone's super talented and they work in their field. They're experts.
Brilliant. We've got another couple of images, so I might just take a look at those, because the art style has obviously evolved, and while these were demos, I think there was a little bit of a different focus potentially in this initial design. Would you say that?
Yeah. So I was actually going through a bit of a journey, because I guess with anime, I do admit, in my artist upbringing, in school and in uni, like there was a bit of a bias towards an anime art style, which I didn't quite understand, because I guess I felt like there were so many fans of the anime genre, and it just seems like in an artist sense, it's just seen as like something that is easily manipulated or copied. But I don't think that at all. I think anime is just, it relies on a lot of like spatial awareness, and I think, just the way that I've experienced it in other art fields, it's just unjustified a little bit. So I wanted to work in that style and rely on Kevin's guidance in this project to relive it.
Yeah, and I think there's some interesting comparisons between video games as an art form out here, and video games as an art form and anime as an art form, and the divide between sort of high and low culture and what's accepted and those kind of things. And I think it's still a fight that both art forms are fighting the good fight for every day. So, okay, so we're going from the demos. Like we said, it's got a particularly Melbourne feel to the game. Like, although we are talking about the intersection between worlds and some quite out there concepts, it is very Melbourne. So were you always drawn to Melbourne as a location, for your game? Was it something you always wanted to explore through games?
So I guess as a team, we felt like, the fact that we all met in Melbourne is a big point on how we wanted to portray the game. And, if there were any design, I guess, issues, we'll be able to get inspiration from our surroundings. And I guess I feel as a location, Melbourne is very underrated in media. Like they usually show, the Sydney Opera House or the Bridge and or like the Outback and a lot of media that portrays Australia. And we wanted to show that, this is our life. This is, what we see every day. And it's more cosmopolitan than that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've managed to do something quite interesting and what I think are quite difficult, which is to really kind of capture that laneway culture that we have here in Melbourne. So the world, the characters, the story are pretty unique. Like, honestly, I haven't played anything else quite like it. How have they evolved from initial concept to release?
So with Maddie, we did go through a lot of design iterations for her. That was partially because a lot of the core team were actually just fresh out of uni, and we were just sort of feeling how much technology and how much of our course we could apply to this game. And we found out a lot about the production process that you can only get from practical use and actually going in and making the game. So yeah, Maddie's evolved a lot in a sense.
I know that you're going to take us through some of that design process and some of those changes from Maddie's design a little bit later. What about some of the other characters that are in there? Like, I might throw just a couple out to you and see how they've come along. So Ned, he is a imposing figure within the game, but also quite quirky and quite warm in that way as well. Talk to us a bit about Ned as a character and how he's evolved and where he's come from.
I guess post-uni, I did a trip down the east of Australia. So I went to so many art museums and galleries from Sydney down to Melbourne. And I was able to get the opportunity to see a lot of Sidney Nolan's work. And I guess that's sort of where the concept of Ned came from. And it just seemed like, from a technical sense as well, it was just really efficient just to have him as a character. And just, he's quintessentially Australian. I can't deny that.
I do love that you brought up sort of Sidney Nolan as an inspiration for this, because I hadn't thought about it until you've mentioned it now. But I don't think I'm going to be able to unsee those iconic Ned Kelly masks.
It's funny. It's funny because I see a lot of the American players, they actually reference Ned as another character, like Shovel Knight is is that Shovel Knight? It's no, dude. It's Ned Kelly. If you were Australian you would know, but yeah. It's also
I was talking with a few friends the other day, and one of the things we really love is the way that you've brought in that Australian language, the Australian euphemisms, Ned offering a durry and that kind of stuff. Did you conscientiously go back through the kind of script that you'd written in order to give it that flavour, or was it something that just kind of naturally came out?
Actually, I designed Ned initially before the script came out, and it was really interesting. And I guess I can only credit our lead writer Damon for it, because he just gets I guess that Australian flavour, and he plays it out in these characters that I've preconceived. So I can only credit Damon and his amazing writing for it.
Okay. And it's lovely to see all of the questions coming through on the chat. Please keep feeding them on forward, and we will make sure we can get to as many of them as we possibly can later. All right, so I think it's a bit of about time to take us through Maddie's design process. So I know we've got some sort of early design drawings and stuff. Do you want to take us sort of through from the initial concept of when Maddie came in your mind through to the one that we play in the game today?
Yeah. I always wanted to create a female protagonist who was smart and a bit smarmy. Um, and I guess with Maddie's design, I initially wanted to create a sense of like witchiness in her. And then that's why, I gave her the long skirt and an apron that was a bit asymmetrical and all that. And yeah, it just, I guess from a production standpoint, it just didn't really work out because there are only two animators on the team, so Joe Toole and me. It just seemed too much to animate her skirt and everything, and so we did consider a more youthful design, especially when Damon came out with his script. It just seemed like Maddie was so much more youthful and super millennial, and I loved it. Like I laughed so hard reading the script, and I wanted to create a character that reflected that. And then giving her, I guess, well, I guess I'll admit, like the sport jacket is something I definitely wore when I was a kid. In school and all that. So I want to reflect that. Yeah.
And then, I mean, look, also talking about sort of anime influences and inspiration, I mean, you couldn't not have those amazing glasses and the ability to have those amazing glasses with the anime reflections.
Yes. I had to draw like to that point. And I really do love what was it called? I'm sorry, I can't recall it, but it was like a Kyoto animation anime. I forgot, but the protagonist had red glasses, and I was just like, red glasses are so cool. And I wear glasses, so I'm just like, I'm gonna put it in.
Glasses are super, and I mean, they are essentially to pick up some of those anime elements that we're going to talk about a bit more about. So, I think one of the things that might be quite interesting is, as a creator, we've seen a lot of love for your game come out online and in the public, and specifically through the character creation and the characters themselves. And we're starting to see quite a lot of fan art come through. How does that feel as a creator when you are seeing people being super inspired to create their own art based off your creations?
I relish in it because I guess I started out my artist career during fan art, and I guess reflecting on how much I love the medium. And, just seeing such talented works, it just, I don't know, as an artist, I get emotional over it. Yeah, I don't know, it's just a lot. And I really do love how I guess artists are reflecting on my work, and that's kind of why I do things, just to get that connection and say, I love this stuff, Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think you can say that there's a higher way of engaging the people who are playing your game than the fact that they want to create their own art based on your art, which is pretty cool. So again, continuing to talk about the art, it's got a pretty unique anime cross 3D look to it. This is a pretty difficult thing to achieve. Like for fans of anime out there, I'm going to be honest. Like personally, I don't know about you, but I've yet to see like a 3D anime that's come out, especially some of these recent ones that have quite got the feel, the vibe, the look right. There's always something a little bit off of it. And I didn't find that with your game at all. It feels really authentic. The looks are right, no matter which angle you kind of take it from. It is a challenging thing to achieve. So do you want to take us through what were some of the most challenging moments you encountered getting this art style right?
I guess realizing that we had to, innovate a facial, the way the characters emote and the way that their meshes are. We wanted to create something that was bespoke. And so we had to create a system that would save, I guess, these meshes in their unique positions. And I guess I was that unfortunate person who had to go in and rig all of those animations and emotions. But, I think it's worth it. I think, people are able to perceive how handmade that Necrobarista is. And a lot of work was put into it. I'll take that. I'll take that credit.
Did you come up against any massive walls, massive walls that stopped you going in a particular direction that made you have to kind of rethink how you were approaching their design and their modelling?
No, not really. We were just, I guess, really naive, and it just kind of worked out. I'll admit, there are some aspects to the game that, were just luck based. But yeah,
things happen like that. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about sort of some of the very specific anime design things a little bit later when we get into some of your influences. So, in fact, which is right now. We had a little chat last week. We went through some of the things that most influenced you art-wise in creating Necrobarista. So we might throw a little each one up and get you to talk us through how this one influenced it and why it's special.
So I am a bit of an, I guess, oldie in terms of the anime community. I really like animes that are out, I guess, in the early 2000s, because that's when I guess I came into it with all of the Madman DVDs and the dubbing that was done to release it into Australia. But a lot of inspirations come from animes like Evangelion, Sailor Moon, Tengen Toppa, Gurren Lagann, Fully Cooley, and I just think the way that I guess most of them are Gainax animes. So I guess I just really dig their style and the way that they approach anime. Also, Kyoto Animation, the way they approach, I guess the eye style is incredibly innovative for that time, especially with K-On! So I remember watching it in high school and stuff like that. So yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I completely nerded out to K-On! Back then as well. So, so the next one is, okay, if we're talking about people who aren't into anime and you can give them one recommendation, this is the one that's going to help convert you over to anime. What's your recommendation?
I quintessentially would recommend Full Metal Alchemist. You can read the manga or you can watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I just think as a whole, the narrative is incredibly well thought out, and that I feel like with a lot of works that isn't necessarily done, I guess, to the detail that it's done with Full Metal Alchemist. So yes, I would definitely recommend watching Full Metal Alchemist.
Yep, I totally agree. Plus, I think the relationships between the characters and the way they interplay as well, I can see some reflections in the gang vibe that we have within Necrobarista. Okay, so look, we've talked about a little bit about working on the narrative, and and the fact that there's so much. There was a lot of text and a layout within it. What's it like working with that much text? Does it come from a place of I suppose of love in your own life, where you were someone who read a lot as a child, etc.? And does this inspire you? We've also talked about the influences from visual novels. So I talked about the challenges from working with a game with so much text.
I'm sorry, Damon, but dude, he's our integrator and our producer. He had to basically go in and basically, I guess, curate all of the text in the game. And he's a wizard with Excel spreadsheets and Google Sheets. So I can only credit him in working on the tech side. And yeah, you know, like, I don't know, just, I love Google Sheets. I can only say that.
I also think the thing that works very well with the game is the integration of the text into these sort of highly dynamic camera angles and stuff. Like, and I think I've read you saying, like, thinking about every camera angle as like a comic book frame or something like that. Do you want to talk us a little bit about maybe the process of working through that text in a visual way? I mean, do you have a particular way that you approach storyboarding and that kind of thing within the game?
So I guess in terms of production with the game, it just started with, I guess, camera angles that Kevin would predetermine. And, you know, they made a lot of sense, and they were like extremely quick to produce. So we pride ourselves in our expediency in terms of production on that. And I guess with the text, I can credit Brent, our director of photography. He isn't, you know, like he works so hard to, I guess, create a sense of and be creative with his camera angles and lighting choices. And yeah, you know, like I don't know, I'm just emotional because I guess the team I've worked with can only be described as incredibly hardworking and incredibly talented in the Australian industry. Yeah.
Awesome. So then talking a bit more about its genre, particularly as a visual novel, which I would say is something quite ambitious to be doing out within the Western world, considering it's not a genre that gets as much light out here apart from among hardcore fans. So had you always envisaged this game and Necrobarista as a visual novel? And sort of tell us a bit about your history with that genre.
We always intended Necrobarista to be a visual novel, and mainly because I guess the inspiration for the idea came from, I guess, our director's passion for the genre and his desire to work and innovate the genre. So yeah, you know, we always, you know, I came in thinking like I was going to work on an anime game. How cool is that? And yeah, just I guess coming out of it is just a lot. But yeah, initially we wanted to make a visual novel.
But so you've done some really interesting things with the format of the game by introducing adventure game elements into it with very particular rewards. Do you want to tell us a bit about these?
So I guess in talking about the design and the gamification of the game, we wanted to create something that was a bit like, I guess the initial concept came from, I guess when you do a wiki walk, which is like when you go on Wikipedia for a subject that, you know, you're interested in, and you keep clicking links, and then you sort of realize like, oh, like I'm 8 links in, you know, and I'm on the weird side of the internet. And just like, we wanted to create a sense of rewarding the player with extra context on the lore. And so I guess that's sort of where the word cloud came from. Yeah, we wanted to create extra context and reward the player for reading. So yeah.
And what a great reward! I mean, you get to do reading, and then as a reward, you get more reading. It's amazing.
Yeah, man, you get more information.
All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn and talk about some of the other elements, which which when talking, like some of they all keep coming back to this idea where we had in anime. So I know that you've done an awesome collaboration with Soft Sites for the opening song. We love the song. We think it totally sets the mood for the game. So how did the collaboration come about? Before we do that, we might actually listen to a minute or so of that.
Gave it all away, and now has come the day. There's nothing left to give. I waited here so long, I listened for your song, and fell right through what you said. There's nothing left to give.
Awesome. So tell us a bit about the collaboration. How did it come about, and what was the inspirations behind it?
I guess as a team, being inspired by anime, we thought like it would be so anime to have an opening song, and we reached out to Boss Battle Records, who basically gave us, a bit of a sample on the titles that were able to be licensed, and so in hearing Soft Science's lyrics, nothing left to give, it just felt like the vibe of what our story wanted to be. And yeah, we just, we're like, hey, let's collab. We'll make a video for you. And like the band were like super chuffed because they were like, our song's gonna be in a game. So,
plus, you've got your own custom AMV now, which is just amazing. So a couple of questions left, and then we might get on to some of the ones that are coming through in the chat. I think one of the things I wanted to get onto was the fact that like the game, since initially hearing about it, like 2-3 years ago now, has received quite a lot of attention. And a lot of love from the audiences that have seen it through its iterations in the various trade shows and whatever else. To the point where you've already won a number of awards before the game was even released. Just picking out a few here, it's the Excellence in Art at last year's Free Play Festival, quite a few from the 2017 Tokyo Game Show. Has the attention affected your approach in designing the game? And what is it like working on something that is being so eagerly anticipated by people?
So I guess with production, we had it in concrete from the get-go. So I guess the awards, I wouldn't say have reflected our game design approach. And it's mainly due to our passion for the medium and our inspirations that drive us as a team. So yeah, the awards are great, but
It's lovely to be recognised, but you're coming from the right place. A couple of little technical questions. We know that we're looking forward to a few new platforms that's going to be available soon. I think Switch, PS4, is that right? Any others? How's the optimization coming along? Any challenges you're facing there?
So we're currently, I guess, taking a break with production. The team has to rest, especially with, I guess, the critical success that we've taken. It's a lot. But, we definitely will be working on a Switch port and considering other avenues depending on how the numbers go. So, yeah, that's how we're doing.
Awesome. And can you give us a little sneak peek into what you're working on next?
At the moment, we just want to take a break. It's lockdown and stuff's hard. But, we definitely would want to work on, a secondary game. I can't say for sure if it's going to be Necrobarista 2. But, yeah, just the team are kind of I guess, relaxing from all of this.
Which is exactly what you deserve after going through the process of getting this getting the game out. Could we be looking forward to any DLC or anything like that potential in the future?
Yes, we have I think 3 DLCs planned. Yeah, so look out for those. Yeah, I don't know. That's how we're doing, I guess. That's all I know. That's all I know for the spreadsheets and everything.
That is great, and I'm sure it's exciting news for many people watching tonight. All right, so we've got quite a few questions that have come up in the chat, so let's try and get through. Let's try and get through a few of those. All right, I like this one. So, what is the quality or skill that you gained from your uni experience that helped you the most in finding you where you are now?
The ability to communicate, I think, is the number one. RMIT, the games design course, falls under the media and communication, and just being able to work in a team is just so important. It's such a soft skill that's overlooked. I guess, working with other creators, having the chance to do that. I didn't get that in high school. So yeah, I learned through uni, how to do, how to work with the team.
Awesome. So then as a team, what do you focus on first? Is it art design? Is it story layout? Or is it really kind of both happening at the same time?
It really depends on the genre and how you load your values into a game. For us, we initially, I'll admit, it was a bit of a rookie move, but we actually didn't really consider hiring a writer. We thought we were able to do it ourselves, but honestly, narrative design is a skill that can only be dedicated to someone who really has a passion for it. So I guess in a sense, in the nature of designing Necrobarista, we needed to have someone who would be dedicated to the main story. And we have 2 writers who do that full time. So, yeah.
Again, going on this kind of narrative thread, do you lay out and plan the narrative in the game from start to finish, or is it more something that happens at the various story beats all kind of happening at the same time in order to form a cohesive whole?
We actually started with the short stories first, and the main story kind of formed together at the end of pre-production. So I don't know, it's my first game, so I can't necessarily say this is how it goes. So, if it works, it works.
We're getting a lot of love for the word cloud technique, a mechanic that you use within the game. So where did the idea of having that word cloud specifically come from? And also, how was that tied intricately to the 3D design of the set pieces of the environments as well? Because everything seems really purposely placed.
I actually don't remember. It just sort of came up, I guess, in a meeting, and we were just doing, I guess, a demo or a demo for PAX, and we were just like, something's up, how do we fix this? And I guess the concept of providing context to the player was brought up at some point, and we were just like, dude, a word cloud would be sick, because that's how we sort of design stuff. That's how I design stuff, like characters and all that. I put up a word cloud and I'm just like, dude, that's so cool. I would, it would be so sick if we implemented that in the design process. Yeah.
So the next one then, now we've started talking about DLC. You're going to get all the questions coming through. So the question is, when did the development of DLC begin, or has it begun already? And then how do you approach that process? Do you need to gauge the interest and see how the reaction to the game is first, or is that something that occurred before even release date?
It's something that occurred before the release date. I'll admit. There's a thing called scope, and I guess with game development, we can kind of be a little lofty in our goals. So yeah, just the content of the game was predetermined, and it's just stuff that we're still working on because game making's hard. Oh, yeah, so we're just putting out as DLC. Might as well.
So question from myself, one that I'd kind of meant to ask a little earlier. For those that don't realise, you can actually access a voice dubbed Chinese translation of the game within, yes. Is this something we're likely to see for other languages in other regions? And how did it come about?
That's largely due to the decision for our publisher. So we met him while we were developing, all of our demos, and we needed to seek funding from an external source. Yeah, and it just seemed like with, I guess, the Chinese community, they appreciate a voice over, and if they were able to provide the funds for it and continue to work with us, then we were cool with it. But yeah, at the moment we're still working out if we want to continue with an English voiceover. So I don't know, it's all up in the air. We're just sort of dealing with it. That's my mum there. All right.
Oh, that's so lovely. That's
sorry.
okay. I literally just had to get my cat off my keyboard 2 seconds ago, so it's lovely. Okay, so we've got so many really great questions in here. I'm going to have to sort of just pick and choose to try and get through. I really like this one. What studio would you choose to adapt the Necrobarista animated series?
Mappa. I love how they did Dorohedoro, and they dealt with I guess the 3D model, the 3D models for the characters. So I trust them. Dude.
And if anyone's listening out there, yep, the offer is open. So, all right. With locations and controversial stuff you can read, did you do any location scouting based stories off of real stuff? The whole thing feels so generally Melbourne.
Yeah, we actually did a company exercise, and we went to a couple of cafes in Melbourne. So I think the one that comes through the most is actually Crimper in Guildford Lane. So yeah, kudos to them.
Okay, as someone who's formed a team straight out of uni, did you go into development expecting the game to be successful?
No.
Is jumping straight into your own project something you'd recommend for students?
Oh man, I'll be honest, coming out through all of this and releasing a game through lockdowns a lot. I'd say if you can have a side gig, do it. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to work on a game full time. But if you have values, if you have faith in your project, go ahead. And definitely seek funding from Film Victoria and all the government bodies that are able to assist. Yeah.
This is quite an interesting one. It is one actually that kind of got me and some colleagues talking earlier on today. So, the person who's asking the question is creating a game which they're incorporating both Western, traditional Western and Eastern media. So how can we create a world that incorporates both Western and Eastern cultures, etc., in terms of making the characters and the art feel like they belong together? Adding just a little bit on top of that, it is quite strange how successful you've managed to be, in creating a game that everyone is saying is so quintessentially Melbourne, that has an anime art style. So what advice do you have for them?
I don't know. I guess that was just something I thought was cool. I'll admit that. Yeah, and I guess in my upbringing, it was just cool to do, and I just did it. Yeah, calm.
Couple more questions. So we've got one from an animation student at RMIT, and they're wondering what skill did you think is most important as an animator and lead designer, such as yourself, and what did you do to improve those skills?
I actually went and did an online course for animation, and it just really had me think about, I guess, the thought process for an animator, and I think passion is the most important thing, and you should foster that. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I think that's probably a really great place for us to leave it for this week. The passion that you need in order to create a game and take your project through. So, Ngoc, it has been really lovely to have you here with us this week.
Likewise.
Awesome, man. Congratulations again on all of the success for yourself and Route 59. We ask you to continue to join us for this exciting Game Talk 2020 series. Next week, we'll be featuring Paulina Semi from Dragon Bear Studios and their exciting and quirky little title, Enchanted. A big shout out and thanks again to our partners, RMIT, for helping us to present this series. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good evening all.
Awesome. All right. Cheers.